Imamo sreću da je danas ponovo sa nama gospodin Tony Durham, današnji keynote speaker. Priznati je svjetski konzultant koji najbolje poznaje psihologiju kupaca. Danas će govoriti o behavioralnoj znanosti i o tome kako nam ona može pomoći da pobijedimo u prodaji. Pozdravite ga, molim vas, velikim pljeskom. Mr. Durham, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I've been in sales for 40 years. The only reason I'm interested in this is because it sells more. No other reason at all. So what I'm going to talk to you about is about how behavioral science and cognitive psychology can help you sell more and make more profit. First, I'm going to talk a little bit of theory, and then I'm going to need your help because I'm going to make you do exercises, and you're going to have to respond quite quickly, because if you don't, I won't get through all my slides. Yeah? At the end, you can get a copy of all of my slides. They'll be available as a PDF. You will notice something different on my slides. Unlike most conference slides, they're not just a series of pictures. They have loads of words on them. The reason for that is when you get the slides afterwards, you can actually see what I said rather than thinking that's a wonderful picture. I know he said 3 really good things, but I've no idea what they are now because they'll still be written there for you, so you'll be able to use them afterwards. So the first thing is, I've only just met all of you, and I've talked to some of you outside, and I know you're lazy. Now, how did I work that out? Well, your brain is about 2% of your body weight, but it uses 20% of your resources. And what it uses glucose to make decisions. And the more and the harder decisions you ask it to do, the more glucose it has to use. Now, your brain is scared that if you get attacked later in the day, that you'll need all of that glucose to think fast and escape from this danger. So once you do too much thinking, it actually stops you doing the thinking. And it protects that because it does like doing simple things, it doesn't like working hard. So you're lazy, but it's not your fault. You're made to be lazy. And I'll show you what I mean. So if you look at that, then this one, and then this one. What happened on the first one, you should have said 5. If your brain did not instantly say 5, you might as well go, yeah, because there is very little I can do to help you at all. On the second one, I can. Third one, if I have to. And on the last one, if I asked somebody to do that, all your heads would have gone down, so I didn't catch your eyes, so you didn't get asked. Now, why is that important? If your marketing material is not done the equivalent of 3 + 2, you are talking to yourself. Nobody is reading it. Nobody is looking at it. How do you know you've done 3 + 2? Take whatever you're going to do, take it to the person who works in your staff restaurant, and ask them, when they look at what you've done, what do they say? If in the first 3 words you do not get back what you wanted them to say, start again, because nobody is going to read or pay any attention to what you've done. Now, I hope you appreciate that picture on the left-hand side. That was taken at great personal risk. I wanted a picture of somebody thinking hard. I think I got a picture of a pissed-off wife. But at least you get the impression. So, because you do hard thinking and your brain doesn't like it, it's found shortcuts that it does instead to get a near enough it'll do effort. So what that actually means is that what people do is they don't actually do proper thinking. They don't examine all of the information. They don't find the most important bits of information. They use the bit of information that is easiest to find, not the one that would give the best result. And they don't look at all the type of information that was available to make a decision. They just use the bit of it that's easy. Yeah? So we think we're really clever, we think we're brilliant thinking machines, but actually we're designed to do as little thinking as we possibly can. So if you think that your brilliant marketing plan is being analyzed in great detail by a shopper, it isn't happening. The average product is actively considered by only 3% of shoppers in a store. you have a 97% chance nobody will think about your brand at all. If you don't start off by attracting attention, giving a reason why buy, and make a difference that way, again, you're talking to yourself. There's a professor called Kahneman. You may have read his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. If you haven't read it, you should do. And basically what he talked about is two ways of thinking. There's a system one thinking, which is quick, fast, near enough, it'll do. 95% of human decisions are made this way. If you have current loyal shoppers, that's how you want them to shop. You don't want them to do lots of thinking. So if I'm buying Heinz ketchup, the last thing you need me to do is think about it, stop, look at price, compare the price to everybody else and see if it's a good choice. What you want me to do is walk along, second aisle, it's always there, second bay, third shelf, that's the one the kids like, bang, gone. If you break that in any way, you have just given your competition a chance. So system one thinking is what you want to do if you have a current loyal shopper. System two is deep and clever thinking. This is when your brain really analyzes. Once you start that, it likes to do it all. So if you break my pattern, break my routine, I now will start to think about everything. I will analyze the other products that are available, not just look at you. So that's what you need to do if you want the purchase pattern to change. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Use loyal users, you use system one, and then you use system two. Now, most people talk system one and system two, they don't understand what I mean. So this is where I need your help. So what I want you to do is I just want you to read these words out as fast as you can, all together as a group. Yeah, so we're going to start at the top. So red, yellow, oh, come on. Great. Now I want you to tell me the colors of the X's as fast as you can. Red, yellow, green, red, blue, green. Right, this time I want you to do the color the word is written in. Not what it says, the color it's written in. Right, red, yellow, green, red. How much harder is that? Can you feel the difference between system one and system two? So the first two are based on system one because it's learnt behavior, how you expect it to be, so your brain acts in the same way. The last one, your brain starts to try and do it how it normally does, goes, oh shit, I'm going to look really stupid here. And then what it does, it cuts in with the system two, which then starts to do proper analysis of what I actually have to do. So what's really important is you understand which one you want to do of each of those. So if you're happy with your purchases and you want to keep system one, this is what you need to do. You need to keep things simple to process so you don't make the brain wake up and start doing serious thinking. You need to ensure that the story you tell is consistent through all the different touch points. Your brain prefers things it has seen before. Why? Because they're not dangerous and because they're easy to process. So therefore, if you do on TV, in your marketing, in the store, the same consistent message, the brain likes it and system one carries on doing its process. The other thing is, and one of the most dangerous people you will ever meet in your life in marketing is your design agency who does your packaging. They can destroy your entire brand in just one pack change. If you do the wrong sort of pack changes, you force system two behavior, which makes the person wake up and they reconsider all of your competitors in a way they have never done before in their life. And then the last thing is be careful in breaking that process of how I shop, because if you move your product to a different place, if it moves to a different place on the shelf, you break my system one learned pattern of shopping, which forces me to think again. I'll cover a little bit more about those in a minute. So the first thing, how do you keep things simple? You write like a newspaper. Whenever you look at a newspaper, the first thing you look at is the picture. The first lines you will read is the big font. If you like the big font, you invest time in the small font. If you don't like the big font, you don't read anymore. It's exactly the same with your marketing. Your marketing should be picture where I want you to start or brand name where I want you to start, Big font in the first thing I want you to read, smaller font if you now want to need extra information. If you don't do it that way, you make it harder for people, they don't use System 1, they don't make it as easy. This explains how it works. Keep it simple how you write. This is a university exercise that they did. And what they did is gave people a simple exercise about lifting their neck up and down to do an exercise. And they measured how long people thought the exercise would take if they wrote it in regular font or in script. They thought it would take 8.2 minutes to complete if it was written in ordinary font. And if it was written in script or a difficult to read font, they think it would take 15.1 minutes, almost twice as long. On the first one, people were willing to put it into their daily routine. On the last one, they said no, they wouldn't. That's the difference. If you write in script in your marketing, you are talking to yourself, nobody is reading it. Have a look at this one from my previous employer, P&G. What a disaster. Yeah? Is there any part of that that makes you want to engage in it? Or are you missing out certain bits and only focusing on the ones written in the easiest to read font? When you're designing, packaging, and marketing, you need to be very clear what is your reading pattern you intend to happen. How you design your packaging works in the same way. It's either simple or not simple. You always look at pictures first. You're in the Western world, so you read left to right. So you like pictures at the left. So an easy question, which one do you think of these packaging scores highest in all the packaging tests? It's going to be the second one, otherwise I wouldn't have used the research. So, this is the difference. The only difference between the two packs is they are mirrors of each other, one with the picture on the left, one with the picture on the right. The picture on the left wins, so pack B, and it scores a more attractive design. The food looks tastier, and more people would buy it. Just because of how it's done. Why is that? Because the brain hates it when you make it do hard work that it didn't want to do, and it punishes you by hating everything to do with your product. Just the fact that you made it read in the wrong line now makes it think that your food is not going to be as tasty. That's how dangerous it is if you don't understand how the brain likes to process information and keep it simple for them. I talked about keeping things seamless so your marketing's all the way through. So your marketing would normally start from what is a belief somebody has, and then how can I change that belief so that they now will take a different action. So in this case, this is a Colgate TV advert on the left-hand side. I've just taken a still picture from it. And the belief they're trying to overcome is, I've left my teeth unlooked after for so long, they are so yellow, you could never rescue them and make them white again. So what their advert says, we have a professional whitening ingredient, we can reverse years of yellowing. So that's their national TV campaign. And to keep it simple for the brain to understand and not make it have to do any thinking when it's in the store, all it does is write exactly the same thing on a giant shelf tray underneath the product, professionally designed, reverses years of yellowing, and you can't see it, but it's actually written on the packs as well. They've chosen one belief they want to change, and the whole of their advertising campaign is designed in the simplest way possible to make it easy for the brain to follow it. This is how not to do it. This is UniGlow. So I was about to go skiing, so I thought I need to buy some new thermal underwear. So I looked outside in the window of UniGlow, the clothing store, and what they've got, so there's a picture of two people wearing black with red key information about why I should buy the brand. So I thought that was worth looking at. So if they want me to now buy, they should keep that exactly simple and repeat that in store. And this is what it was in store. So I wandered all the way through the store and couldn't find it anywhere. So I was coming back out of the store, and here's what I found by the front door. So they've done two single photos wearing white versus two photos of a people together wearing black. It had a red background, on the outside, and it's now got a yellow background, and the products facing the door are actually the white ones, not the black ones. I see this all the time. Yeah? If you've got one idea and you've taught me one message, repeat the same message over and over and over again, and the simple human brain will love it because it's easy to process and it will follow it through. If you change it and do it a different way, I just believe you run out of stock. Packaging changes, the most dangerous thing you will ever do in your life. If a competitor changes their packaging dramatically, move all your marketing money for the next 2 years and attack them during the packaging change. You will never have another time when you have more chance to take their business from them. How do you find out what you own on packaging and what you should be really careful of changing? Really, really expensive research. What you do is you give people children's colouring pencils and you ask them to draw the brand. The only things people can draw is what's in their long-term visual memory. The only thing in a store they use to find your brand is their long-term visual memory. So what this shows you is what you own. So this is Head & Shoulders, and what they own is a blue cap, a white bottle, and a curved side. That's all they own. So all this stuff you have written in your equity pyramid that you think you own, yeah, just nonsense. Yeah, this is what you own, what the people draw, and nothing else. And you will find they don't put half of the things down that you think they use. So what that means is if you're going to do a packaging change on this, yeah, if you change the blue cap, the white bottle, or the curved side, be really, really careful because you're breaking the learnt System 1 pattern of how people find your brand in the store. What happens if you get it wrong? If you type in Tropicana packaging disaster into Google, this is what you'll get. It's the biggest cock-up of packaging changes of all time. So Tropicana looked like this. They decided, for some unknown reason, to make themselves look like this. Probably a new ABM decided he had to do something to prove that he was in his role. But he destroyed every single learnt pattern of how to recognize Tropicana. Tropicana was still physically on the shelf, and people were stood in front of it, and they couldn't find the product. Even women couldn't find the product, not just men. Yeah? Even women couldn't find the product, which is the most amazing. So it wasn't just man-looking, as my wife calls it. So what had they done? They'd changed so many of the elements of the pack, there was none of the System 1 process to find the product that would work anymore. They lost 20% of their US market share in 2 months. They had to completely go back to the original packaging because the disaster was continuing, and it cost them $50 million to put the mistake right again. So be really, really careful in how you do major packaging changes like that. So if you do have to do a packaging change, and I'm not saying what they did was wrong, but don't think that the shopper cares about your brand so much that they are willing to spend a lot of time searching for it. So you have to handhold them so that instead of forcing them to go to System 2, they stay in System 1 learnt behavior. So this is what you do. So this is Boots in the UK, so the equivalent of DM that you have here, a pharmacy chain. So they've changed their packaging. So what they've done is they've said, here's what it used to look like, and this is what it looks like now. So they've allowed in the store the System 1 search pattern to still continue to work so they can still find the brand. But then they've shown you what it's actually moved to. Yeah? How dangerous is this? I don't know if you know the product Herbal Essences. I worked at P&G. Herbal Essences used to be an old lady's shampoo bottle, and they moved it to a very dramatic, super curved bottle. I told the brand manager when I saw that they would lose 50% of their UK market share, and they were a 12-share brand. He tested it in vivo. So in vivo is where you go into proper stores, do real research, and watch how shoppers react to the changes you're making. It showed they would lose 55% of their UK market share overnight on the day they did the change. So what did they do to handhold? 6 months before the launch, they put a picture of the new pack on the back of the old pack on the back of the label. When they launched, we did a buy one, get one free. So we put the old pack on the front, we strapped on the back the pack we wanted you to buy long term, you took them both home. You always use the one you're used to first, so that goes, and the other one sits on the cupboard in your bathroom. And then the new one goes in your shower for a month. By the time you go back, I've taught you the new color and shape pattern that you actually need. So think about major packaging changes. How dramatic am I being? How much hand-holding of the shopper across the transition do I actually need to do? I'll just leave that up for a second because there's quite a lot on the slide. But basically, the main thing I want you to take from that is that shoppers are really boring. And they go the same way round the store every week. Yeah? If you have a pet, you go down the pet aisle. If you don't have a pet, you don't go down the pet aisle. So you miss that aisle and go down the next one. So you then, for the rest of the store, go a completely different route than somebody who has a pet. You will approach different aisles from different directions. People visit in a 40-aisle supermarket. The majority of shoppers visit 10 aisles or less. So they visit 25% or less of the store. Only 5% of shoppers do over half of the aisles. So if you're in one aisle and you move to another aisle, you have a real problem because you have broken my System 1 learnt pattern of where you're located. I worked for one biscuit company and I was out with the sales director and they'd just made a packaging change I said would be a disaster. He got a phone call from his dad in Tesco saying, "Where are the biscuits now? I can't find them," because of the packaging change, and they were exactly in the same shelf in the same place as they used to be. Yeah, so that was from the packaging things. I've had other ones when people have moved the location as well. So if you move the whole aisle, that's one thing, but also even if you move your position on the shelf, because I've learned that Heinz ketchup is third aisle, second bay, there. If you move to somewhere else, how are you going to help the shopper find your new location? Because unfortunately, retailers are so bad at keeping products in stock that if a shopper in 3 to 4 seconds doesn't find what they want, they believe the retailer is out of stock, and they stop their search. So you're still on the shelf, but they won't look for you because you weren't where you normally were, so therefore you're out of stock. Okay. So what happens if you do want to win new business from new people? What do you do then? So what you need to do is force System 2 thinking. So how do you do that? You need to disrupt their learnt pattern. If you allow me to happily wander around and do my owl like I normally do, then what's going to change? Very little. So you need to do something to disrupt the shopper's behavior, to force them to see you, and to see you in a way that will do analysis about whether you're a better choice than what they do now. Second thing is you need to change the comparison. Again, the brain is pretty stupid. It doesn't make clever decisions. It makes decisions based on how you allow them to be compared at the time they make the choice. I'll show you more about that in a minute. And the other thing you need to do is force a conflict with what they believe now by using things like authority, awards, social proof, endorsements, a whole range of different things. So, if you look at these, so first of all, I just want you to look at this one. Yeah? So look at this set of circles here. If you look at that set of circles, then your brain doesn't know which ones you want me to look at because they all look the same. If I ask you now to look at the second set here, what will happen is all the time your eye will go to the star. Now, I want you to not look at the star in the second set. And what you'll find, it's physically impossible. Why? Because your brain is designed to spot danger. The way it does danger is it says what is the same and what is different. And it focuses on different. You will be seen if you can make yourself fractionally different than everybody else. Then they have to look at you. They have no choice. And you don't want to be like this one at the end, because that's like a Turkish bazaar. And your brain doesn't know what to look at, so it chooses to not bother looking at anything. So you can't be boring, you can't be a Turkish bazaar, you need to look like you belong in the category, but be fractionally different by creating danger. You can do that through nobody else has a shelf tray, you have a shelf tray. Go to some of the stores here in Croatia and look at Nivea in the health and beauty sections. They have shelf strips underneath that uses the Nivea icon to stand above the layer of the shelf, and every time you go in the aisle, you see them first. Yeah, brilliant job for the cost of a piece of cardboard. Yeah, all of those work. So, if you look at these, I've just picked 3 examples of what different and dangerous looks like. Shoppers lose the will to live for secondary displays that are made in a rectangular cardboard shape. They all look the same. Nobody focuses on them. You cannot miss that display. Now, they don't tell you why buy them, but at least they've got your attention. If you look on the second one, yeah, at Nutella here, what will happen is because the shelf strips have magnified the color connection to the Nutella brand name, and it's formed a rectangle, you are forced to keep looking at Nutella. Try looking at their competitor. It's physically impossible. Your brain will take you back to Nutella every time because Nutella has already won the whole of the game by making sure that they're different and dangerous. And most of the time, their competitors won't even know what they've done to them. They'll just think Nutella's growing and they're losing. And then if you look at the final one, you are forced to look at big first. Big wins over small because big is more dangerous. Yeah? It's the big animal coming towards you need to be scared of, so your brain prioritizes looking at big. The other thing on the one on the right-hand side is it's not done straight. If you want to sell to current users, put your pack straight. If you want to sell to people who don't buy you now, put yourself at an angle. Because you look like you're falling over. If you look like you're falling over, it triggers the defense mechanism, and that will make system 2 work. So people who don't normally consider you will be forced to look because you look like you're falling over. If you ever go to Germany, look at fragrances, yeah, and what you'll find is that there is, every single fragrance brand in the whole category is dead boring, and it's a little square box like that. And all of the fragrances are lined up little square boxes, except Bruno Benini, where the pack is all set at that angle, because the pack is designed to sit at that angle. So in the middle of the shelf, they all line up like that. Bruno Benini is the #1 brand in Germany and has been since they changed their packs to go on an angle, because now they're seen first in the category every single time. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you to do an exercise again for me. These are really challenging questions. Yeah. So what is that? Now come on. Sorry? A blue dot, a blue circle. Okay. So if I put this one underneath it, and I ask you, how would you describe the first one now when you look at the whole slide? Big. Oh, you're good. I like you. And if I put this really big one at the top, how would you describe this first one now? So a middle circle, yeah? Okay? But it hasn't changed. So you've just described it as a circle, a big circle, or a medium circle, but it hasn't changed at all. All that changed is the comparison I allowed you to have at the time I asked the question. The thing didn't change. If I put you next to private label, you're expensive. If I put you next to the premium brand, you're good value. The rest of your brand hasn't changed at all. So I can change what you are by the comparison I allow at the time I ask the question of the shopper. So the brain, because it's lazy, it doesn't like doing really clever thoughts. What it likes doing is taking simple solutions. So instead of looking at all the data like it's supposed to, it makes a comparison of what's near to it that allows it to make an easier decision. So if you do not control the comparison, then the comparison will be on price, and price alone. So if all there is your product sat on that thing, there'll be a bit of long-term memory of your brand and price. Yeah? Most people who are brand owners will not win in those circumstances. You need to change the comparison to be on an area where you win. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that now. First one I want to look at is just the change in menus. It works on anything, but I'll show you how this works. So what you've got is going into the restaurant for burritos, and the first thing they do is they give you just an ordinary choice. You can have, beef. Oh, sorry. Go back again. You can have beef, chicken, or vegetarian. Okay? And then on the second variant of the menu, what they did is introduce these, save the planet scores, where if you're having beef, you're evil and you get a red, you're going to hell because you ate beef today. Chicken, you're somewhere in between, and you are godlike if you eat vegetarian burritos. And then on the final variant, what they did is they just used social proof, and they labeled the vegetarian as the most popular. I'm sure it's a lie, but that's what they did. So what result did they get? Well, this is what happened. So if we look first of all, that's the control. So what happened is 33% of people had beef, 58% had chicken, 9% of people had vegetarian. When they told you vegetarian was the best one, and the one everybody was choosing, 13% of people went on to the vegetarian. When I did the eco label that said beef was evil, look what it's done to beef. It's gone from 33% to 16%. So changing the comparison from price alone, or from even which meat or vegetable you have, to either a social proof comparison or a comparison that took it to save the planet, halved the beef choice, increased the vegetarian, but the interesting thing is chicken grew as well. So even if you sell chicken, it's great to get the other two fighting with each other. Just to show you it even works on words. So what this example is just changing the words of how you describe different sizes of chips, of fries. So they had a healthy option where they called the small one normal, big, and king, and then they had what they called the unhealthy one, but I called the great sales one, so this is the one I would be executing in anybody I worked with. They called the small one mini, and they called the super big one normal. Yeah? Just changing the words from normal to mini grew sales by 33%. Why? Because it changed the way your brain does the comparison. So be really careful what your packaging designers write on your pack in terms of how they describe its sizing. I hope there's no packaging designers in the room. This one gets a bit heavy, but bear with me. So what I want to talk about is the Decoy Effect. And what the Decoy Effect talks about, how you can change the comparison that people make by introducing a product that they would never choose to buy. Okay? And this works in the real world because I've done it in the real world. So what happens is, if you're now doing a serious analysis between two products, you tend to compare all of the different attributes. If I introduce one product which clearly isn't a good choice, it pushes the brain to look mainly at the people's difference versus that one's attributes. So it changes, and that becomes the focus of the comparison, not the comparison between the two options. Okay? So by introducing something nobody would ever buy, you can force the comparison to be in an area where you win. Okay? They can shift choice by as much as 40%. Now, this next one is a bit of an eye chart. This is proper research done. This is academic research. I can share it with you. I've done the same research with real people, but because I work with them as clients, I can't show you that. So, this is 300 buyers. They were asked to make choices between either the Carrefour store brand, Galliana, a national brand, Knorr, or Knorr with 10% extra free. Okay? So if we look at the red box at the top, at first they only let you have the Galliana or Nor. When you were only allowed that in the top red box, 61% of people took Galliana, 39% took Nor. Okay? Then on the next blue box down, they now did Galliana versus Nor with 10% extra free. As you'd expect, Galliana lost business and Nor gained business when they had the 10% extra free. Now this is the interesting one. So on the next condition, 3, they left the original Nor on there at exactly the same price as the 10% extra. Now you would have to be really, really stupid to find 2 products, one that were identical, one both at the same price, one that was normal and one that had 10% extra. Now, the great news for humanity is the fact that nobody bought the regular one. But look what it did in the difference. Instead of buying 51%, they now bought 58% of the 10% extra free. Adding a useless product or leaving it on the shelf that nobody would buy meant they bought 7% more of the product on promotion. Now, any private label people or retailers need to look the other way because they now tried it against Carrefour, a private label. So at first it was 60%, 40%. They then put the promotion in, it went to 44, 56. And then what they did is they left the decoy in, and what happened is it actually went to 70% from 56%. They gained 14% because it changed the comparison to be about the product, and it forced all the comparison to be, oh my God, I'm getting 10% extra, and I'm really clever because I wasn't stupid buying the other one. That's how it does it. Now, you think, oh, would I be able to do that in the real world? Well, the answer is yes. This is real testing in Sainsburys in the UK with Innocent Drinks, which is a fruit juice drink. I think they're owned by Coca-Cola now. So what you've got in the top picture here is just a picture of what the shelf was like with the big promotion cards telling you which brands are on promotion. And this is eye tracking, showing that what happened is the shoppers looked at the key promotional sites and the pricing that was available. Because as soon as you put promotion cards on, you force people to move into a price comparison. Yeah? And then what they did here is they've now left one of the variants not on promotion. So the one in the red box is another one of the Innocent Drinks, but while the rest of Innocent has gone on promotion, this one has not been put on promotion. So if you look there, you can see when we look at the eye tracking, people are still looking at the promotion cards, but they've also paid attention to the one that's not on promotion. When they were asked afterwards to score which was the best offer, this one or the one on the right-hand side, this one on the right-hand side got a 41% higher value score. Why? Because you realized how good the offer was when you saw one that wasn't on an offer. The one that wasn't on an offer was a decoy exactly like on the other one. So actually not promoting your full range can actually increase your sales and increase the amount you take from a competitor and can increase the amount even more that you take from private label. You can see why I like this. You can be really, really mean and people don't even realize what you've done to them. So, how else can you force system 2 to actually work? You can change the beliefs. You know, I make choices based on my belief, and based on my belief drives my behavior. So if I can give you new knowledge that challenges your belief, you're probably going to reconsider. And when we're unsure, we follow what the experts do. So I like this one because what a professor did was asking people financial questions, and then he measured their brain scans to see what happened depending on the extra information he gave them. When they were being asked financial questions, but they were given advice by an expert in economics, their brain actually shut down and didn't bother making any decisions anymore. It just did what the financial expert said. So you can actually get people to change what their beliefs are and change their behavior and do a very simple system too by giving them outside experts which have credibility. So this is a real-life example. This is A/B testing done by Google. And what they were doing is testing a lot of behavioral science different ideas on the normal websites and seeing the change in the business. So what they did is, first of all, this is in TVs, I've just picked one category. What they did is they only gave you one choice when you looked on TVs, one choice of TV. Obviously, people who wanted it could only buy that one. They then introduced a second choice of TV, and what they found is 30% of people chose the second choice of brand, 70% stayed with the first one. And then what they did is they added an endorsement from an outside body. So from TV magazines says, we are the TV of the year, 5 stars, all this sort of thing. What happened is, suddenly 43% of people moved. Nothing else changed. Adding an outside endorsement boosted their sales from 30 to 43%, and that was the only thing that changed. Outside endorsements force System 2 thinking to reconsider what you believe, which leads to a different behavior. Especially with youngsters these days, they believe somebody who's been on TikTok twice is now an expert. But you can use celebrities and people like that to also influence in the same way to force System 2 thinking. This is Angelina Jolie. What she did is she wrote an article on breast cancer because of some of the challenges she's personally had. She got a 795-fold increase in the downloads of the fact sheet on that condition, which is more than the president of the Royal Academy of Sciences, who is supposed to be the expert. Celebrities are increasingly being seen as ways of influencing System 2. Having an award and put it on your pack makes a huge difference. My favorite piece of research is this: a university made up awards. So these are awards you've never heard of, you've never seen before, and they put them on different products and they measured the sales change. Every single product they put an award on grew its sales. So I'm not suggesting you make up awards, yeah, but what I am suggesting that if you do have awards, you make them really visible. The best buy from which, or this one is the Stephen Warren test in Germany. I know that putting the Stephen Warren test in Germany on your pack is worth a 10% change in purchase intent, because I've measured it with about 4 or 5 different customers. Yeah, absolutely huge in changing the reference point. You can do social proof. It is really, really sad. 85% of customers trust online reviews as much as friends and family. The person who hasn't been out of the house for 3 days, sat in their jogging pants, drinking beer, you believe what they wrote online as much as the people you've spent all your life with. That is really sad, but it works. So imagine if you see in store you're a new mum, recommended by 88% of UK parents. What's your choice going to be now? It's not about price. Are you a good mum or a bad mum? If you buy one of the other ones and it goes wrong, it's your fault because you're a bad mother, because all the other mothers were buying this one. It completely changes the comparison and forces System 2 thinking, giving new behavior. Again, a new mum. Yeah, Britain's most trusted pregnancy vitamins, 84% of women use this one, and it's the UK's #1. So are you going to buy the cheap private label, or are you going to buy this one? You're going to buy this one. So if you're happy with current purchases, force System 1 thinking. Keep things really simple to process. Ensure that everything is linked together so you have one idea and it goes all the way along, so that you don't make the brain have to do active thinking. Really careful on your pack changes, yeah? And if you do a major pack change, plan how you're going to handhold the shopper across that transition, because that transition is the most dangerous time for your brand. And then, when you move things around, be really careful, because particularly at the moment, where you've got high inflation, huge price changes, the last thing you want is your regular current user to look at price. If you do not disrupt anything, they will probably carry along and buy it like that. Not everybody is poor. Some people have a lot of money, and they don't look at prices. If you do eye tracking in a store, you will be horrified how few people actually look at price when they buy. Nowhere near the amount that the industry thinks is going on. So if they're buying you now and they're not looking at price, don't mess it up and make them start looking. If you're not happy with current purchases, force system 2 thinking. Disrupt through different and dangerous by causing something to make their brain not be able to be lazy and force them to start thinking. Change the comparison. The biggest thing you can do is finding different ways to change the comparison. So the way the shopper makes the choice is in the area where you win, not the one that your competitor would like it to be. And then force a conflict with the existing knowledge. Because if you can do that, then you'll force people to use system 2, which may lead to a different result. If you like what I've talked about today, there is a short video on my LinkedIn which actually covers the way that I train this, which is normally in 10 sections. This is the UK government model, because the UK government has a behavioural science expert department, and they use this model, so I've just pinched it and I use the same model, but I apply it to retail to do evil things, and they apply it to nice social things and saving the world. Yeah? But it works in the same way. If enough people would like to do a course, then I will set up and run one with In-Store Magazine here in Zagreb in Croatia. If you're interested, just tell some of the in-store people, and then they'll sort out a date that fits as many people as possible. And the last thing is, I have no friends. Yeah, so if you want to be my friend on LinkedIn, I will happily do it. If you have a key question on one of the things that's raised from something, drop me a note on LinkedIn, or that's my email address. Just drop me a note on email. Happily try and answer it for you. Good.
Thank you, Tony. So if I want to transfer somebody from competitor to my brand, what should I do? It's not an easy question.
No, it is an easy question. It's the logical thought process. Why are they buying what they're buying now? They're buying it because they have a belief. What is that belief? What could you tell them that will change that belief? Because your behavior is driven by a belief. Okay, I'll give you an example. I buy Aldi cornflakes. Okay? Why do I buy Aldi cornflakes? Because I think I'm being really clever. No, just to annoy the little guys, really. But no. I buy Aldi cornflakes because I think I'm getting Kellogg's cornflakes in an Aldi box. So I'm being really smart. Now, Kellogg's can keep running as many promotions as they like, but if they don't get below the price of Aldi cornflakes, I'm never going to buy them, because I'm already getting Kellogg's. So in some countries, Kellogg's runs a campaign that says, if it isn't Kellogg's on the box, it isn't Kellogg's in the box, we do not make private label for anyone. Right, my belief cannot stay the same. So now, next time I go, if I want the quality of Kellogg's cornflakes, I can't continue to buy Aldi. If you don't change my belief, the behavior won't change. You only change my belief by giving me new information and forcing system 2 thinking. And it's just a logical process of how you do that through focus groups.
And what is the biggest mistake on marketing on packages?
The biggest mistake made on marketing adverts, point of sale, and packaging is not controlling the reading pattern. So I see them made all the time, and when I ask the designer or the marketing person, so where is the strike point? Where will people look first? How have you controlled where they've looked first? By picture, large font, and loads of other techniques. Where will they read next? After that, where will they go next, and where will they finish? On your advert, which parts do you not want them to read, and how have you made sure they will never read it? So it's about having a target start point, control of the reading pattern because of the behavioral science that you actually use. Otherwise, people miss half of your key messages and you don't get the comparison you want.
Okay, thank you one more time.
Thank you.
Big applause for Tony, thank you.
And if I'll be here for part of the day, if anybody's got questions, just grab me in the break. If you've got pictures of your brand, you want questions and things, just grab me. Yeah.
Eto, nakon ovako opsežnog i zanimljivog